I'm a little unrequited confused. You love me, you hate me, you're in, then you're out. You hit me up late, then you go ghost. Why is your car in my apartment garage? Why do our paths always seem to cross?
What's up, guys? It's Jackson here from Loote. Today I'm going to break down the Some Girl Named Anna Seriously Just Stop Loote remix, which was a super fun project to do and get into, how we linked up and how the track came together and all that. Anna's songwriting to me is one of the most unique sounds that has come out recently in the game, I would say. Every time I've heard one of her songs, I've thought, oh, that was just totally unfiltered and exactly how you felt about it. It's like, it's not common that you really believe everything singers say nowadays. And I think that was one of the main things that drew me to her stuff and her music. It's like so unfiltered and raw. So it was really fun. It was an awesome challenge. And it kind of first came together, like I said, it first came together when somebody at Anna's label played me some of her records. And I was like, who is this? So yeah, we kind of went back and forth. I sent some ideas to her and her team. They were like, we like this, we don't like this. Kind of went on and we dialed something in that everybody loved. First plugin I started with was first sound I started with was the this Jupiter patch, which is actually a Jupiter emulator made by Roland Cloud. For this particular one, I started with this patch right here, which is this. So here's the MIDI of that. And then below that, I usually put a lot of effects and processing on plugins. So I think the first way it sounded was like this. So with no processing at all on it, it sounded like this. So I put a little DS10, which is like a drum shaper, transient designer, EQ, Valhalla Room. This plugin is Decimort. Shout out to Captain Cuts because they showed me this plugin. This is just a really nice bit crusher. Gives it a little more tack and punch. LFO tool, and then a couple sends, which we're probably doing a chorus, and another bit crusher doing the high end. So then I kind of built off that sound. This part I added in underneath it, which is just, I think, a single voice along with this, which is probably just an accented hit to make kind of the pattern cohesive. So it all kind of sounds like one instrument. So I wanted to keep it really minimal to start the song and just put some tempo and groove in your face right away. So I started with just the kick and that. Let me mute the vocal so we can hear the rest of the... Of course I didn't label it. It's labeled slash. Yeah. So yeah, I started with these plucks and the kick drum, which is, I think, up here. Yeah. Which is probably a sample from Splice. We'll find out. Here we go. So it is... It's actually, you know what? It's actually the kick from another Loote song. It's actually the kick from This Is How You Feel, which I do that all the time. If I have a favorite sound that I finish a song with, like a kick or a snare, I bounce them all into one folder. And then in a way, I have over the past 4 years, all my favorite sounds that I've used from productions, mostly drum samples and little loops, and I just throw them back into a new session. So yeah, that kick pattern, and then I had an accent in the kick pattern like this, just to give it a little bounce. So that's basically the bones of the beginning. I added this clap in later, which were Splice samples, I think. Yeah, then once you establish a bed like that, you just kind of build off of it. The vocal, I always like to be super out front and really clear. I think I bounced it from a chain probably.
When we started out by telling you the truth, for a minute I was kinda into you. Yeah,
so that's the beginning. Yeah, and then other elements added in as I went. Obviously, there becomes a lot more. In terms of my favorite instruments or stuff that was really a primary element that you notice, my next favorite one was this actually percussion loop down here, which looks like it's from Oliver's Power Tools, that does this crazy triplet feel. So when the chorus came in, I added that in.
Response, seriously, just stop. Just stop.
And then it's the same it's the same plucks with that pretty much. And then this little turnaround here was a Juno 106 patch. Let's see. This little chord walk up. Yeah, so this sound here, that you hear recurring through the song at a lot of moments, and I think I added more layers on it later, but it's basically like a bright kind of almost 80s flavor synth pad that I put in there. So that was that. And then the whole track came in, which is like the rest of the beat. This actually, I really wanted to add this walking bass feel. So this was another big element here, the synth bass. Yeah, and then I actually added a little slap bass accent in there on top of that, which was like most of the bass sounds from this section. Try to get it with the kick and clap, so it sounded like this. I think. Yeah, so that's kind of the bones of that section. The rest of it was percussion and little bits of plucks that you heard earlier. Next moment, I guess the next big moment was over here, right at the top of that drop. Just kind of the similar synth from earlier. It might be the same one, actually. That was pretty much like most of the keys. Other than that, I had this little clav thing here, this little clav riff. That's this. Little accents like that. I had this guy down here, which was another synth pad hit, I believe. Yeah, that's a cool one. That's actually from Arturia's Analog Lab. Looks like it's the CZV. I don't actually even know. I'm not familiar with that synth. I think I probably just was scrolling through presets and found something I liked. Yeah, so that's basically that section. A lot of percussion, a couple synth pads, and then there's the bass in there. What do we got next? Oh, so right before that, we have this crazy turnaround. I think we just wanted something that was like a little out of the ordinary, a little head turning, attention grabbing. So that was comprised of this sound, like almost sounds like a Journey synth or something like that, like almost like goofy sounding, and then the Juno pad that you hear earlier. One of the other cool elements that I had in the big drop sections was a really super affected vocal pattern from one of her ad-libs. That was a really cool melody. It started out like this. Let me take everything off of it. So that sound, then I added a bunch of stuff to it. Let me loop a section that so you can kind of hear. I love, like, this is a pretty common process in pop production right now. Everybody loves to chop and distort and pitch up vocals and use them like an instrument. So I do that quite a bit. This just has like the first 3 plugins on here are just like a gate and like compression and EQ. So just kind of getting it sounding, you know, up front and together kind of. So these are just like, yeah, normal things, more compressors. I kind of like build onto the chain as I go. I like to use Arvox, like sometimes at the beginning chain, usually just at the end of the chain, just to like tighten things up. And then where the vocal really starts to get crazy is with the dimension expander here, which is just like a room sound. And then pitched up with Little Altar Boy. A big reverb on it, Valhalla Vintage Verb. And then a bunch of sends. So when you put that in the mix, so yeah, it's just kind of a cool element that fills out and takes up some space and catches your ear a little bit. So that's kind of how, those are kind of, I guess, the main elements from the production. A lot of it's like, you know, just little drum bits and loops, and but those are kind of my favorite pieces and were definitely the most fun to make. What's up, guys? This is Jackson from Loote, and that is how I made the Seriously Just Stop Loote remix by some girl named Anna.
Here's my
Peace.
response. Seriously, just stop.